Courtois safely grabbed. And there's just time for De Bruyne to lead this attack. Japan desperate to cover the spaces. They can't do so for the moment. Lukaku, and here's a winner! Oh, can you believe it? Nasser Chadli strokes Belgium into a quarter-final against Brazil. And it is all over.
Belgium escaped defeat against Japan. Messi and Ronaldo head home. England win on penalties. Cinderella story Sweden move on while the other Cinderella Mexico goes home. And the host nation Russia survives a Spanish assault. You're listening to 12 Yards Out. I'm Robert Bellardi with Devin Imrie and Nelson Santo. We'll be recapping all of the matches from the round of 16, preview the quarterfinals, and hopefully get into some transfer talk. Reports are crystallizing that Juventus are on the verge of signing Cristiano Ronaldo. Ronaldo has said to Madrid he would like to join the Italian champions, according to Italian journalist Fabrizio Romano. Terms have been agreed. Boys, lots to discuss in the blissful world of football.
Good day for our resident Juventino.
That's right.
He's not allowed to have him until he says that he's a GOAT.
I know.
We can have him at any aspiration at any moment that we want.
It's hard to even believe it until he actually dons the uniform, I think. So all these reports are coming out, and it's happening so quickly that it's crazy to me to even think. Like, I would never believe that Ronaldo would end up in Serie A.
But it's the perfect step for him because it's kind of between like you have La Liga, which is like really busy, got a lot of fans always after you, and when you go to Turin, you're gonna have more of a relaxed lifestyle, and I think he's kind of getting into that age where he just wants to just chill out with his family and still play high football, right? And I think Juve is probably one of the best teams for him to do that.
Yeah, before he went to Manchester United way back in the day, Juventus actually wanted him, and there were some terms agreed, and one of the sporting directors, I believe it was, said, no, don't go after him, for whatever reason that it was. But Ronaldo has always had admiration for Juventus, for the club, for the fans. I mean, hey, the fans applauded him when he scored the bicycle kick against their old team. Watching Juventus all my life and being a supporter, I've never seen them do that, ever. Not even to the most respected players in the world. They did that to him. And I think that's a good sign of respect to the player that he is and what he brings to the table all the time. And even at 33 years old, he can still get the job done. It's good for Juve for Champions League. I mean, watching Juventus lose 3 finals in a row that I can remember, 5 finals in total in a row, ever since their 96 victory against Dortmund on penalties. No, sorry, Ajax on penalties. They lost to Dortmund the year after. It's been pretty daunting, I'm not going to lie.
Rough life going through this.
I think he's seen them lose more than I've seen Porto win.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
But what are your expectations for him if or when he does arrive?
I think that ease him into the lineup. I mean, he has to gain some chemistry with, Dybala and Douglas Costa, Cuadrado. It's going to take a little bit of time to ease into everything. I think play him in the number 9 role. I think that Gonzalo Higuain, for what it's worth last season, really didn't bring a lot to the table for you.
So
I think
does he leave?
Yeah, I was just going to ask, does he leave?
I say he leaves.
Yeah.
I say
even
it would
room
be
for
smart
wages, right?
for Juventus. They want to apparently do a straight swap with Chelsea. Send Higuain to Chelsea, bring Morata back. And I think that's smart because Morata had a lot of success with Juventus and with Allegri. He played really well. It's good for Chelsea because they want to sign Maurizio Sarri, the former Napoli coach, and replace Antonio Conte. I think it's good for Higuain. It's good for Juve to get Morata. Everything will work out. And so far, I mean, everything's looking good. They're already making jerseys, which I will definitely buy.
Do they win the Champions League, though, with Ronaldo? Does this put them over the edge?
Well, you'd have to think so, right?
But we got Buffon now, right? He's gone to PSG.
Watch Buffon sign a 1-year contract when Ronaldo signs.
Yeah, he hasn't made it official with PSG, right?
No.
So you never know. If he sees Ronaldo coming, he's like, hold on, wait a second. I'm coming back home,
I mean, if you were
guys.
Buffon, wouldn't you?
Of course. Well, you'd think you'd have to, right?
Yeah, why not?
Because now if Ronaldo comes, your chances
DeAndre Jordan.
They are good friends as well. Ronaldo and Buffon.
Yeah,
they have a
very
lot
good
of respect
friends,
for each other. Even when Real Madrid won the Champions League tie, and Ronaldo was walking out, and you saw Buffon speaking to the press, he went over and gave him a hug.
It's a respect for your colleagues in the sport, right? And Buffon's one of the greatest, and so is Ronaldo.
Exactly. Now, let's get into recapping the round of 16. I mean, lots of drama, of course. I mean, what else is new in this sport? Lots of possession-based games for one team resulting in losses, which I think is something that we can address once again, that teams who have dominated games possession-wise actually go on to lose. I mean, hey, call the Deutschland Die Mannschaft helpline in Germany, and they'll probably be able to tell you, yeah, we dominated possession against Mexico in the group stage and dominated Sweden, and then went on to dominate South Korea in possession, and hey, they only got one win out of the 3. So the first game was Argentina against France. Argentina went through in 1974 when they lost both of their first 2 matches. So that was something to address, considering that Argentina tied the first game against Iceland and then lost their second to Croatia. And some other good news, Kylian Mbappe believes it's not necessary for him to be paid while he progresses in the blue. And his bonuses can benefit humanitarian causes, which I think that's...
Yeah, he's donating everything that he makes in the World Cup.
Excellent maturity from a 19-year-old that you honestly don't see out of a lot of 19-year-olds. You see a lot of greedy players that want the money and want to keep playing. He's got a lot to be humble for, and he knows where he comes from, and he knows the position that he's in as a professional player. To receive millions of dollars per year, I think that's very noble. In terms of the match, what did you guys think?
Well, it's crazy to think that he's just 19, as you mentioned. Like, he completely took over that match, and it was really his coming out party to the world. And it was the first teenager to score a brace in the knockout stage at a World Cup since Pele did in 1958. So, a long time. It's been a long time, but speed kills, right? And nobody in the Argentina squad can match him for pace. And you saw it on the penalty that he ran through basically the entire squad without being touched until he reached the 18-yard box. So
yeah, you took the words out of my mouth. I think this is for people who don't follow football like we do. Watching that game, you're like, wow, this kid is great, and I think he's gonna be one of the next top talents for the next generation. And Argentina couldn't handle his pace, his speed, his dribbling, and then it ended up costing them the game, and France came out winning. But the only thing I have here is France still let in 3 goals. So you kind of have to wonder about them going forward. Like, are they going to tighten things up, or are they still going to be letting... If they let in 3, then they're always going to score 4 or more to end up winning the games. And you know that you can't always score 4 goals in the World Cup.
Yeah, and considering the fact that they are playing Uruguay next round, and Uruguay have only allowed 1 goal. I mean, Uruguay are very stable in the back. They defend very well. They all track back properly. For France, they're so offensive, I think, they forget to defend. And when you're controlling the game in the midfield in terms of Pogba, Kante, Matuidi, all did an excellent job against Argentina. And credits to Benjamin Pavard for his incredible form. Again, reminded me of the Nacho goal and the way that he hit the ball and the ball's backspin.
I think this one's way better,
I think that was better.
It can be argued this one is better. I'm going to have to look at both the replays and come up with
his first international goal for the team, only his 9th appearance, which is incredible to think. And now being reported today or yesterday, he was being linked with Arsenal, Atletico, and Bayern. So
that's what a goal in the World Cup does for you, right?
We've seen it time and time again.
Stuttgart can definitely look into their transfer books and say, okay, how much do we want for this guy? Because he's a top talent.
One good performance at the World Cup does that, right? So with his team down 2-1 and they needed a goal, and he provided that. It's incredible. But
and that
Argentina had the lead, right?
Yeah.
Sorry to cut you off.
No, I was gonna say that goal, a little like 1 millimeter to either side on his boot, and it could have gone really over the net or to the corner flag, and he just hit.
For me, buddy.
He just hit it right in the sweet
spot. For the record,
spot.
you cut me off too, and I get no apology. What is this?
I always like him.
Wow. Yeah, no wonder you guys sit on the other side beside each other, and I'm over here with the mixer in front of me.
Because he wants to hold my hand, but that's not happening.
I think that's it. Doesn't want to admit it, though, but under the table, I don't know.
But yeah, Argentina had the lead, but to me, they still never looked in control of the match.
Yeah.
You know, it always looked like France were going to pull it off, and it would take a really special defensive performance for Argentina to hold on to that. And we know that they don't have that in their side.
I mean, also talk about going from hero to villain. I mean, Marcos Rojo concedes the penalty, and he won the match for Argentina against Nigeria with under 10 minutes to go. And really, for Argentina, there was never a good sense of communication. Everyone looked like they were just yelling at each other for a long period of the game. And not only that, but the lineup as well from Sampaoli. Everyone looked at it and said, okay, you know what? Messi's playing up front by himself in a false 9 kind of role, which tended to work. And then Pavon was out wide. And Di Maria on the other side. I didn't really like that too much.
His goal was special too. Sorry again to get
Di
you
Maria
off.
was Di Maria was
Yeah.
it was incredible.
But
you
that's
know,
France not defending that well either, because he
Again,
had
yeah.
time to look it, and he's like, "Hey, what side do you guys want it? Okay, here, take it." Just and what a bullet it was.
I mean, Argentina did exploit some areas, but again, where was Paulo Dybala? The guy played less minutes than goals scored in the
Juve,
Serie A
yeah.
this year, and you're not going to play him?
I knew you were going to bring him up.
That's of course I have to say that, but it's not just.
No, it's true.
Take the bias away for 1 second.
No, I'm glad
Like
you did.
that is horrible when you leave a guy like that on the bench. I mean, yes, he says, "Oh yeah, his play, Dybala's play, and Messi's play are very similar." But at the end of the day, they're professional players. You have to learn how to play amongst one another, and you have to put them in the lineup.
And when you need a goal, and you have Dybala there, like for me, like why didn't we see him? You know, like why take him
Yeah, if he's
to
only
play
gonna
him for 20 minutes?
Yes.
Why? In case Messi gets injured, but
Instead,
what
he
are the
always-
chances are that
he always
Messi
went
is
to-
never injured?
Sorry to interrupt you. I'm doing
No,
it now.
no, but
He always went to playing Maximiliano Meza and Christian Pavon and Enzo
do nothing.
Perez, and they didn't do anything. They didn't contribute as much as Sampaoli would have hoped for. And look, Argentina are going to look back at this World Cup and say that this was by no means a great performance in general, from the very first whistle, kickoff against Iceland, to the last whistle against France. And France deservedly went through. They played the better
100%.
game.
Yep.
When it came down to it, of finishing your clinical chance, being clinical with your chances, France did it.
yeah.
And that's what it comes down to.
We haven't heard. Sorry, before we
Yeah,
move
go,
on,
go. No
we haven't heard anything about Messi retiring yet from international. But where do you guys stand on that? Do you think he continues, or is this the last we see of Messi in the Argentina
He
jersey?
plays the Copa America, and that's it.
He wants to win. That,
Give
I
him
think.
one chance to win a trophy with Argentina, and if he doesn't do it, then I think he retires.
I think it's so hard to tell what's gonna happen in 4 years. Anything, even next month, something could change, right? I don't know. I think Mascherano ended up retiring after the game.
Yeah.
So I guess maybe he's just gonna take some time and think about what he wants to do with the national team.
Now we're going to move on to the Uruguay-Portugal game. So Uruguay are going to take on France in the next round. Now I know, Nelson, you're smirking over here, and I know it's rough.
I'm
Believe
heartbroken.
me.
Don't
I
worry,
mean,
we
at
have
least
room
you-
on the couch
hey,
for you.
Look, we got the espresso machine going,
We got it.
You got the
and at
TV on?
least you got knocked out of the World
We
Cup.
got the Zeppole.
We
got
didn't
the
even make
cannoli,
it.
Don't worry.
We didn't even make it, so don't even worry. But throughout that game, look, Cavani was clinical, and in 105 caps for Uruguay, Cavani's got 45 goals to show for it, 12 of those assisted by Luis Suarez. And I said in the very first podcast, if Suarez and Cavani can get going and work their interplay together, this team is so dangerous for strikers. The
special
front
sign.
two
Yeah.
are probably the best in the tournament, alongside Mbappe and Griezmann. Even though they don't play specifically in that role, if you want to put a 1-2 punch, those two for France are technically a 1-2 punch.
Yeah.
Maybe to a lot of people, not to everybody. That's in my opinion.
They're lethal. Yeah.
I think that Uruguay played a good game. Now, it really is going to come down to Cavani's injury. How serious is it? And what is that going to do to Uruguay's lineup? How is Oscar Tabarez going to line his men up against France? What are they going to do?
Well, for me, I picked Uruguay as my dark horse to maybe win it all, or at least reach the semifinals against France, because I had them on this side as well. So I knew they would meet, or not France, sorry, Brazil. I knew they would hopefully meet Brazil at some point in the semis or earlier, but or at least later. But I have Uruguay. I don't think Cavani's injury will be too serious. The reports saying that he will play, but it is bothering him. And then also we saw Suarez pick up a little knock in training as well. But I think they'll be good to go. And that Cavani performance was special again. And the pass from Suarez on the first goal was incredible. And then the finish for Cavani on the second goal was so outstanding. That's what he does. But I want to hear from the Portuguese fan himself. I want to hear what he has to
So
say.
you want my opinion?
I want everything.
I think this was Portugal's best game so far of the tournament, if you ask me. They were hands down controlling most of the game and ended up taking two brilliant plays from Suarez and Cavani to get the goals. But I have a little bit of an issue with both goals. The first one, man, Cavani ran from, I believe it was midfield, and he got at the end of that ball where were any of like Fonte saw him coming, Guerrero didn't pick him up. I think if you have to track that run, no way he could run from the midfield and get that ball. For me, Guerrero was great 2 years ago, but this year he was just way off. And then the second goal, the Cavani, that beautiful shot outside the box. When I was looking at the replay, it looked like Rui Patricio was on his right post, and he wasn't really positioned that well, because I feel like that ball was really close to the middle, and if he was positioned a little bit better, he probably would have had that ball. And then what I saw in the second half was Bernardo Silva finally playing in the middle where he should be, not in the wing. And that's when Portugal was taking control of the game. Uruguay was struggling. They also, in my opinion, probably should have put Gelson Martins in the wing, because that pace would have caused Uruguay's defender some problems. But at the end, they ended up scoring 2. We only scored 1, and they move on. And congrats to Uruguay, because their defense was solid, man. They didn't budge at all.
Again. And it's weird to think they conceded on a header.
Yeah.
When they've been scoring headers this whole time and have Diego Godin and Jimenez at the back. So, but I don't think it's any cause for concern moving forward. I think they'll be okay. But Messi and Ronaldo leaving on the same day, like what does that do not only for the World Cup but for their legacies as well?
I don't think it damages their legacy. It doesn't, because everyone can give a lot of criticism to Ronaldo not coming through when it mattered in the knockouts. Look, both of them have not scored in a knockout game ever.
That's really disappointing.
In the World Cup. It is disappointing, but it also comes down to, pressure of the situations. And, if you look back on it, Ronaldo and Messi have been on stacked teams for predominantly their entire career. So to be the front man and lead everybody is something that's a little out of their comfort zone. And to do it on the international stage is hard, because they don't play with those guys all the time.
But I'm sorry, if you want to be considered the GOAT, the greatest of all time, whatever you want to say, you have to perform when the pressure's on, when the light's the brightest, and neither of them have. And it's disappointing. It's really disappointing, not only to see them both go out and leave the World Cup, but not perform up to their capabilities.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, it's a team sport, right?
Yes, it's 11
it is,
to 11.
right? But at the end of the day, they're going to be the ones to take the blame.
I know, of course.
They're the star player. They want to be considered the world's greatest. You have to take that responsibility, and there's no excuse for me.
I agree with you. You're absolutely spot on when it comes down to when the lights are shining the brightest, you have to come play. Now, if you look at Argentina's team on paper, yeah, they have this formidable attack. But again, never came into fruition. Yeah. These guys don't come together. Portugal are more well-balanced. They have good coaching. But again, when the chances came, I mean, Bernardo Silva missed a chance in the second half. The net
Portugal
was open.
created a lot.
Yeah.
Muslera was off his line. He came out wrong.
Yeah, the empty net.
Silva should have finished it there.
Portugal
Much like against, I believe it was Croatia, right in the first half with Argentina. I believe it was Meza who missed that open net. Meza or Perez. Well, and it's like, your supporting cast has to come play.
Yeah.
They do. And, for us, for guys like us, we won't spend too much longer on this topic, but just keep it more brief right now. For guys like us, Messi and Ronaldo are in the cards for best of all time in all of our eyes, because we cannot advocate for Pele and Maradona. We weren't there. Yeah. We never saw them. We never knew what the style of football was. We don't know how competitive every single league was, because people will argue, oh, Pele was the best of all time. And then someone will come around and say, oh, he played in Brazil. But hang on a second.
In America.
Who was playing in Brazil at that time? A lot of Brazilian players were playing domestically. Argentina, a lot of players were playing domestically. Much like back then, Spain did it. Portuguese did it. The Italians did it. The English did it. So all the leagues were competitive within their own nature. I mean, it's difficult to compare two different eras of players and say who the best of all time is. For us, it's either Messi or Ronaldo. Take your pick, whoever you like, because both of them are incredible.
Mm-hmm. Story of the game for me, just before we move on, Portugal had 20 attempts and only hit the target 5 times. Yeah. And you're not going to beat Uruguay with a defense like that, with the shot accuracy like that. So, ciao, Portugal.
Yeah, it's sad, but you know what? Portugal has really only been competing since I believe, 66 when Eusebio made it to the semifinals in the World Cup. And, hey, man, it's not, it's progress, right? So, 4 years ago, they were knocked out of the group stage, and I guess, you should have gone further, in my opinion. Didn't, but you know what? You got to move on. You got to look forward, because if Ronaldo wants to come back in 4 years, he's gonna probably have a lot of young, good guys that are coming up through the system, and who knows then, right?
Hey, for the past maybe 14, 15 years, this has been Portugal's golden generation of footballers.
Yeah.
It has been.
It has
Luis
been.
Figo, Pauleta, Deco, Maniche, Ricardo Carvalho, Paulo Ferreira, now Ronaldo, now Bernardo Silva, Andre Silva, Guerrero, name it. You name it. It doesn't matter. All these guys have been part of the best
that they've ever had
15 years of this nation's history within the sport.
And they've only had one Euro Cup.
Yeah.
Hey, man. At the end of the day, everything's
trophy's
getting
a
better,
trophy.
right? At the end of the day, all the competition, every country's getting better. We see small countries putting up big fights, right? So
It's
not just
actually amazing to see that everybody's really competing.
It is.
It's good.
It's the
good for
sport's
sport.
growing.
It's growing.
Right.
It's good for the sport. Even the Japanese that we'll get into a little bit later on in the show. I mean, to see them do what they did and take a 2-0 lead against Belgium was incredible.
Look at Russia.
We'll get
Moving into
that.
Russia. Like,
Yeah,
they're the
moving to
lowest
that.
ranked team at the World Cup, and they beat the 2010 world champions. So, and what a performance they put on, and an incredible World Cup they've been having. And to take Spain all the way to penalties and then eventually win, it's just an incredible indictment to football where it is now. And we've criticized football in the past, like the past few years, where it's like we always see the same teams, same club teams in the Champions League final or in the semifinals, whatever. But at international level, I think it's been at a steady level where, we're not sure who's gonna win. There's always some parity, and I think that's really good for the sport and for the tournament.
Yeah, for Russia, Sergei Ignashevich became the oldest player in World Cup history to score an own goal. And
what a time to do it too.
oh, of course,
Against
brutal
Spain.
timing. And ignominiously, the Russian crowd fell silent. Russia conceded the first goal for the second time in a row, and then came the penalty. That penalty that we continue to talk about in this World Cup over and over and over again comes around.
That's a penalty, though.
An interesting stat. It was a penalty.
Hold on,
Interesting
before
stat.
we get
Wow.
anywhere. That's a penalty, right?
Yeah.
PK's arm was up.
Oh, PK's. Oh, wait, maybe I got it confused. I don't know. You know what? I don't know about
so
that.
he headed it
I don't know.
off PK's arm. But in the past, you guys have said that's not a penalty because it comes from a header and you can't jump. But that's a clear penalty.
I don't think anyone knows anymore what a
I don't know
penalty
what it
is or
is.
what it's not.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I was just
Right?
agreeing with you
Anyway.
for a second and not paying attention.
I
and
just
looking
had
at my
I had
notes
to
and-
get my
Get it
2
off your
cents
chest. That's
in.
fine. But PK's not even
'Cause
looking at the ball.
That was bothering me for I was like, once I saw it, I was like, yep.
PK jumped and his arms are in
I
the
was
air,
licking
and
my
just like we
lips.
had that conversation that we had last week, he's up in the air. His arm is out, obviously, but he's not even looking at the ball. I mean, like I don't know what really the criteria is around this, but they really got to hone down on calls like this.
Yeah.
They really do.
You either got to make it a penalty or it's not. Like it's just getting ridiculous now.
It is. Like, majority of this World Cup has been surrounded by the energy of the penalty. That's just the way that it works. And on that penalty kick, De Gea conceded 6 goals on his 7th shot when Zuba put it in. And I'm sorry, but a guy that's regarded as world class, and again, like we were talking about players shining brightest on the brightest stage, De Gea was nowhere to be found
This
this
whole tournament.
entire tournament. And he really let Spain down.
Yeah.
There was one Spanish goalkeeper who was at home. You
Who's
guys know who he
that?
was?
I don't know.
No?
He definitely doesn't play in Portugal. So I hope
He-
you're not
he
talking
I
about
ended
don't
up
know if he
winning
does
a
play.
championship
Is he on the
this
port?
year.
Is he on the port? Is he drinking port wine?
I think he was in Russia drinking the port wine.
Oh,
Does he even get
Russia.
on the pitch in Portugal?
Oh no, not at all. He just ended up lifting up the trophy this year.
In a 2-team league?
No,
I'll
it's a
give you
4-team
that.
Okay,
league.
no, hold on. Give it a 3. I'll give Lisbon a little bit of credit because they're competitive. I don't know about a 4.
Man, you gotta take Casillas.
Even as a backup.
Yeah, because he has that experience of winning the World Cup. You're gonna leave him at home, and then this is what happens. You have a
was
goalie
cool.
who has one save throughout the whole tournament.
But would he have even played? Or
Well,
would he just
that's
be
what we
there
were just
for...
saying. Even if he doesn't play, at least De Gea has someone to lean on, right? Like even after
What do
the
you
first
mean?
game, he
In what sense lean on? What do you mean by
like
that?
get to try and learn something from Casillas because he's been there. He's won a World Cup, Champions Leagues, you name it. He's won everything.
For Casillas to nurture De
Yeah.
Gea and give him, pep talks and tell him what to do in certain situations would probably have helped De Gea a
Yeah.
lot.
Just like Figo nurtured Ronaldo. Then you have Ronaldinho, who nurtured Messi. Those players are. That's how you get experience, and that's how you become one of the best. It's by learning off other players who have done it.
Well, for me, this game really came down to Russia's tactics, to sit back and just absorb the pressure. And the Spain coach said after the game, it's tough to break down a team with 11 men behind the ball, right? And it is when you're an organized team like Russia, and you're able to stay disciplined and organized at the back. It makes it really hard for a team to break you down, even a team like Spain who can pass the ball around. But we just saw a penalty shootout, and it doesn't come down to skill, A lot of it is luck, but there's no skill involved in a penalty shootout.
I'd argue there is skill, and it's more mental. It's a mental and game. Having the composure to step up to the spot.
Yeah, that's a different story. But I'm talking about
it's a lottery at the end of the day.
The Spanish team has a lot more talent than the Russia team, hands down. There's no argument that.
None.
But when it comes down to a penalty shootout, that all doesn't matter. You know what I mean?
Like
it comes down to the mental toughness.
Yeah.
And obviously the Russian crowd helped, like I spoke about last episode, where they were excited to play at their home stadium, So that might have played an influence on it, but you can't take skill into a penalty shootout.
Yeah, 69% possession for Spain in that game, 18 shots to 9. And I mean, the last time these two played each other was in Euro 2008 in a competitive game. Spain won the semifinal 3-0, won in the group 4-1. So I got this question: does this victory officially classify this Russian team with Golovin and Cheryshev and Ignashevich better than the Arshavin and Pavlyuchenko era?
Ooh.
No, it's tough. This tournament's not over, but they have proven a lot. You know what I mean? And we criticize them heavily after their loss to Uruguay, but that
they
seems like
back.
an anomaly. That they performed very well in the other 3 games, and I think I don't have them beating Croatia in the next round, but I do put them, like, we didn't pick them in the last game either, so who knows? But to say that the Pavlyuchenko Arshavin era is not is better than this, or the other way around, it's tough. It's hard to put that in context right now. We haven't seen it enough, I don't think.
Yeah, I think it's hard to say which one's better.
I would just say that it is solely because they are now in a quarterfinal of the World Cup. That Russian team with Pavlyuchenko and Arshavin made it to the semifinal of the Euro. Now, the other game that day was Croatia-Denmark, and this was the first time that these two have played each other since 2004, and Croatia won that game 2-1 in the Euro. I mean, this game, you have to give credit to Denmark because they surprised everyone with their audacity to take the game to Croatia, considering the fact that Croatia have been so dominant in this tournament. They come out of the gates, they score immediately, Jorgensen with a goal in the first minute, and then to concede a penalty in extra time, not awarded a red card, from which I think was a bad call. I mean, you
didn't think it was a penalty, or
that was in extra time when Jorgensen committed his foul in the box. That was not only a penalty.
Yeah,
it was a red.
Yeah,
instantly.
It's hard,
I don't get that either.
A lot of refs don't want to
be
double punishments or give too much punishment on one play.
The sympathy to do that. Where does that come from? Because in the rule book, that's a penalty. You're denying a goal-scoring opportunity from a player that is about to put the ball in the net. Remember, I can't remember who was attacking. Refresh my memory here. But he moved around Schmeichel and was about to tap the ball.
I think it was Rebic.
Was it Rebic? Because I was going to go on about Ante Rebic.
I got a story for you guys after, but I personally, I'll tell you now. I wasn't watching the match. My girlfriend got us tickets for the TFC match as a grad gift, so I missed the match.
Making excuses
for an awful TFC performance, but
you're better off watching the video.
Exactly.
We'll get into that in the coming weeks when we start covering.
Luckily,
MLS.
technology blessed me for that day. Kind of, they showed the extra time on the big screen before kickoff, and just as they turn it on, Modric is taking the penalty. He's running up for the kick, and then stuns the BMO crowd with this amazing Schmeichel save. And the amount of pressure on Modric's shoulders were huge. And then to come back in the shootout and keep his head really speaks to the type of player he is, though.
That was only his second miss, I believe, ever on the penalty spot.
Yeah.
I mean, credit Schmeichel because he was the best player on the pitch that entire day.
He deserved more than what he ended up getting with Denmark.
Yes,
for
and,
what he
and
did.
Schmeichel really carried his team. And, you had to have thought Croatia was going through even previously, because Croatia now have scored 8 times already in this tournament against a Denmark team that's only managed 3 goals. So Denmark really struggled offensively. However, defensively, they're pretty good. And the way that they, use their lineup accordingly to the talent that they have on the team, they did a great job in this tournament. I mean, Denmark made it to the round of 16 for only the 3rd time ever. The farthest they've gone was the quarters in 98. So to do that for a very small nation that, football or soccer is probably high up there, but maybe not regarded as the highest sport in the country. We don't know. We don't live there. But it's incredible, and it's a good job to them. And, going back to Ante Rebic, he's garnering interest from Fiorentina, Arsenal, and Spurs right now for his tenacity as a forward, and he's been putting on a great performance.
It's that World Cup fever, right? When you're doing well, teams are going to come get you. And he's been playing really well the whole tournament.
All right. Now the next game, Brazil against Mexico. And sorry to the Mexican fans, but for the 7th World Cup in a row, Mexico bow out in the round of 16. It's depressing. It's really depressing to be a Mexican soccer fan right now, because this 4-game curse for the Mexican nation, it's capitulated the team again under the pressure of the knockout round. And we firmly believe this was a nation destined to break that curse, destined to actually go pretty far in the tournament. Maybe not win, of course, but, put your best foot forward and go far in the tournament, and the Seleção proved to be too much.
Well, I want to start this off with discussing Neymar's antics.
Absolutely.
I'm a huge fan of Neymar. I think he's one of the most skilled players of all time. Like, just pure raw skill, right? But in order to be respected by anybody, this has to stop. Like, it's getting ridiculous to a point where it's hard. It's really just disgusting to watch. Being Italian, knowing all the jokes, and playing in Italy as well, I've seen the worst of it. So I feel I'm inclined to speak about this. Neymar is disgracing the game. There's a difference between selling a foul and making a complete fool of yourself and the sport. Yes, he was stepped on. Yes, that hurts, maybe more than people think. But to act as if you are a fish out of water or as if you were shot is embarrassing to watch. I've seen this happen firsthand in my own experiences. However, technology such as VAR doesn't exist in lower leagues in Italy. But for the official not to use what is available to decide whether Layun's step warranted the response from Neymar was appalling. If he's not going to be punished for his constant behavior, what's going to stop him from continuing this?
I agree with you wholeheartedly, and Neymar spent 14 minutes on the ground during this World Cup.
Yep.
And are you not embarrassed if you're Neymar? Do you know what I mean? Because if I was, and I was in Neymar's shoes, I'd be embarrassed of what I'm doing. You roll around as if you're going down a hill, okay, in the group stage, and Miguel Layun steps on your surgically repaired right foot. And I get that. It probably does hurt. I mean, he did intentionally do it. When you look at the replay, Layun knew
100%.
exactly
There's
what
no
he was
denying
doing.
that. There's no denying there was a step.
This is a total disgrace to Neymar's name, and I'd like to bring up a question to the both of you. If you are a great player in the world and you're doing these antics, as a fan, do you lose respect for this person? Because I would say yes.
100%.
Yeah, but I also think he doesn't care, right? He's the most expensive player in football history. So what does he care? What is he doing? He's getting paid at the end of the day.
That's where the point where you should care,
But
no? Like, I mean,
it's not only about that, but it's the younger generation that's watching him and that looks up to him.
Yeah.
And that's the worst part about it, is because he has so many young fans, like because of his skill, his hair, his whatever he's doing, his shoes, you know what I mean, his commercials, his big reach in the United States and Hollywood, whatever.
he's a role model.
He's signed by Jordan, you know what I mean? So the fact that he's doing all this, it affects the younger generation, and it makes them want to, like, he's looked up to by so many kids, and they see this and they're like, they think it's okay because
Neymar
he's doing
does
it so often, and Neymar does it, and he's not being punished for it.
Monkey see, monkey do at the end of the day. And I agree with you. I think kids will now look at this and say, well, if Neymar's doing it, maybe I should too. And, as Canadians and being in North America and along with the United States as well, we have sports that predominantly don't require embellishing. I mean, sometimes it does happen in hockey, and it does happen in basketball to sell the call. Now, to describe it with soccer terms, we get it. A dive or two just to get the call is unfortunately part of the game. That's the way you kind of have to sell what you were trying to earn. I mean,
Because
it comes with the package.
It's a fast-paced game, and it's hard to see.
Exactly.
Right?
And especially in Brazil where he was playing, Brazil's a stop-and-start league. They blow the whistle every 5 minutes in Brazil. You can't watch a game consistently within that league without honestly turning it off after half an hour because it's brutal. I've watched some games with Sao Paulo's playing, and 10 minutes, and the referee blew the whistle 8 times. It's actually bizarre. But to embellish it in the way that you do, Neymar should be embarrassed and ashamed of himself for how he's presenting himself, not just to the footballing world, but to the rest of the world itself as a professional athlete. I mean, Draymond Green, I think, partied with him or he hung out with him, and he said the difference between being an NBA star versus a soccer star is astronomical. And Neymar's on top of the world as one of the best players in the world, probably top 5. I think we all can agree on that. And you're doing this.
Yeah.
And it's actually ridiculous.
Well, having said all of that, like, he had a great game.
Well, he did score.
There's no denying like his talent. You know what I mean? And I don't want that to get confused. But he had a great game, and him along with Willian really drove this team to victory. And only if only Willian could play like this week in, week out for Chelsea and for Brazil, like on a consistent basis, he would be regarded as one of the greatest in the sport right now.
Garnering interest from Barcelona as well. I think that Brazil should start Roberto Firmino. I think Gabriel Jesus is not cutting it for Tite. I mean, he's a great coach. Don't get me wrong. He's made pretty good decisions. Yeah. And yes, it is the loyalty. For Brazil's success, Roberto Firmino puts himself in the right positions and he makes the correct runs, and it did earn him a goal. I mean, look, they're getting the job done. And for Neymar, he's scored his 6th goal in the World Cup. He's actually tied Messi for World Cup goals. He's one behind Ronaldo. And he does a lot for Brazil. He really does. And I respect him for that because he puts the weight of the nation on his shoulders, a nation that is far greater with history than Portugal and Argentina. And talking about doing it beneath the bright lights, Neymar does it for Brazil.
There's a lot of pressure when you wear that shirt, right? They have 5 World Cups. So, I think the antics he does sometimes is probably to get a little bit of attention on him, but he doesn't really need that because he scores, he plays, he's a flashy player. Mm-hmm. Like you said, Dev, he's got that raw talent that you don't really see many players just have naturally like he does. But he had a great game. He had a goal and the assist on the Firmino goal, and I think I'm with you, Rob. I think Firmino needs to start at least maybe the next game because when he comes on, there's a different presence to that Brazil squad. So it'll be interesting to see what they do because they have a tough match coming up now.
Yeah, and just to finish off, the PSG trio of Neymar, Cavani, and Mbappe has been really dominating this tournament if you think about it. Combining for 8 goals in total now. So something to look forward to the next match between France and Uruguay with those 2 teammates going against each other.
Does that have anything to do with like them winning the league so early, so they probably get a bit of a rest?
Well, I criticized it, what was it, a couple episodes ago, maybe the last one or the second one, where I said winning the league so early kind of stumps their growth as a player and obviously might not put them on their top level come World Cup time for international play. But that was very early and probably just a little warm-up game for that they needed to really get going again, and we've seen it.
So now Brazil have the most World Cup goals in the history of the tournament with 228, surpassing Germany, who have 226. In third is Argentina, 137. Fourth is Italy, 128. And fifth is France. And there's a bunch more that I wrote down. I don't think we have time to continue going on.
Top 5.
That's the top 5. Now, Belgium versus Japan.
Let's get to the best game so far.
This was the best game of the round of 16, no doubt about it.
Most my heart a little bit.
Japan looked to have become the 3rd Asian nation to reach the quarterfinals in the history of the competition. The last 2 were South Korea in 2002 and North Korea in 1966. Genki Haraguchi scored the first goal in Japanese history in the knockout stage, and Japan left the tournament with the most goals ever in their national team history.
All credit to Japan.
Absolutely.
This game had everything in it for me, and Japan were so close to making my prediction come true. I picked them to beat them, to move on, and to be the upset of the round. But we saw that with Russia and Spain, obviously. But they conceded 2 goals from headers, and at that point, it's down to genetics. There's really nothing they can do when Belgium put on Fellaini as a sub, and he's towering over the Japanese defenders. But really more questions need to be asked about the back line of Belgium because they were asleep on both Japan goals. All credit to Haraguchi and Inui for class finishes, and I think Inui had an outstanding game for him. He looked absolutely dangerous on every time he touched the ball going forward. And he looked like he can unlock the whole Belgium team on his own. And then we saw Vertonghen come up with an incredible header, probably in the same category as Van Persie's. But obviously this was from nearly outside the 18-yard box on almost an impossible angle.
Well, yeah, the angle really sold the header.
Just to loft it over the Japanese goalkeeper. Obviously, the goalkeeper's not that tall. Again, the whole Japanese squad is probably 5'5" on a good day. But
that was
still incredible. I'm sorry, but it was incredible. And then on the third goal, always criticizing me.
Hey, you know what? We gotta poke some fun every once in a while. We throw some stats, and it sounds like it's getting boring in here sometimes. Maybe, who knows? But
yeah, so the incredible third goal, the counterattack started by Thibaut Courtois to send De Bruyne on his way, and what was it, 9 seconds?
9 seconds. I was just gonna say it took him 9 seconds.
I really didn't think Lukaku had that kind of IQ on him. But
he just let it go. I thought he was gonna touch it.
Yeah, he's a donkey to me. You know, he's awkward. He trips over himself. He had so many chances this game to score, and what did he do? Nothing. But
the biggest thing he did was doing nothing for that third goal.
Honestly, so
well, just his smarts. I mean, Lukaku's such an incredible player. Yeah, continue your point.
Sorry, I just want to finish off here.
Don't worry.
The mistake for me was was Japan even crossing the ball into the box with 30 seconds left in the game. You haven't done it all game, and you have 30 seconds to
go to extra time
to push Belgium to extra time, and you loft it in very slowly right into Courtois' hands and give them. Like they should have played it short and not given Belgium another touch on the ball.
Yeah,
there's my rant.
I'd have to agree. Belgium's the last team since 1970 Germany to come back by being down by 2 goals in a knockout stage. Do you know who they won?
How did they win?
No, do you know who they won against?
I don't know who they won against.
England.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm. But man, this was probably one of the most entertaining games of the round of 16 to me. I thought Belgium was done when Japan was up 2-0.
I was getting so hyped, man.
I bet you were. But you know what? That Belgium offense, which weren't even the guys that we were all expecting, right? You have Vertonghen, Fellaini.
Always criticize him.
Yep.
But that's what he's there for, right? That's all
the
he
header.
does.
He's the aerial threat. That big afro gets into the box, and you spot it from a mile away. And you know, I credit Belgium for even going on the counterattack. Yeah. In the 90th minute. I mean, Courtois could have held the ball and found an outlet pass, and then the whistle's blown. Okay, let's go to extra time. I mean, they realized that there was a sense of urgency, and they knew that they had an opportunity to go forward and score. And also credit Roberto Martinez for the substitutions. I mean, we mentioned Fellaini.
Super subs.
Also Nasser Chadli as well, who scored the winner. I mean,
he ran all the way from his own, I think it was his own 7 or 8 yard box.
Yeah, they ran all the way. And just another thing, Eden Hazard has scored or assisted in the last 7 games for Belgium. And Belgium ties their 1986 record with 12 goals in the tournament. I mean, I heavily criticized this Belgium team in the first podcast, and I said they're going to choke again. I don't see them going far in this tournament. Now, I'm eating my own words, and I'm going to take them against Brazil in the next round because of the way that they've been playing and the mindset and the character that Roberto Martinez has generated within the locker room is a spectacle within itself for a golden generation that has simply disappointed Belgium tournament after tournament thus far, and now they have the chance to prove themselves, and I really think that they can beat Brazil. They are one of the few teams that's using 3 in the back, and it is successful, and it's working. And, you know, like you said, that defense was really caving in against Japan in the second half when they scored 2 goals, but credit the defense as well for gathering all of their morale together, gathering everything that they had, and said, you know what, get your game face on because we have to defend so hard now, better than we've ever defended before in our lives, to give that offense the chance to get us back into the game. They did that.
Yeah, well, I don't think that can happen against Brazil. They can't fall asleep at all, and
no way.
They've shown that they have the ability to do, the ability to fall asleep. But yeah, I'll get into that later. I got another little rant coming for you.
You're
all in for Brazil.
You're angry today, aren't you?
Yeah, but
you can go all in for Brazil. I'm still sticking with my dark horse Uruguay to go all the way. I'll stick with it. In my original bracket, I had France in the final, but I think now I'm going to stick with Uruguay. Anyways, now Sweden versus Switzerland. I think this was the slowest game out of them all. I think we said that this game was the most even, so to speak, between the two teams. I mean, Switzerland have never won a knockout game ever in the World Cup, and they went against the Swedish side. Now, Sweden, either they want to forgive the critics or they don't, but they went into this tournament just beating Italy, mustering all the strength that they had to hold off that Italian side in the San Siro that attempted over 20 shots. They go into this tournament. They get out of the group stage with Germany in it. And now what? They're in the quarters. And all credit to them for their tenacity on the pitch, their character, everything. Every single adjective that you can think of that is said in a positive manner to this team, go forward and say it. And you know what? At one point, we need to remember that at one point, this was a powerhouse football nation. I mean, they finished 4th in 1938, 3rd place in Brazil in 1950, and runners-up in 1958. So they do have a little bit of history on their side. Present day is, of course, a bit of a different story. I mean, they struggled until USA 94, and they finished 3rd place in USA 94. They're a surprise. This is their first knockout win as well since 94. They beat Saudi Arabia in 94.
The main historic moment I remember about Sweden is obviously in that Euro Cup with defeating Italy with that Zlatan back heel.
That back heel.
Jesus. That was the first time I ever heard of Zlatan Ibrahimovic. And then I was cheering for him for Milan. Like, I don't even know who I was at that time, but he's a gypsy, always will be a gypsy, but I love him.
Yeah, it's a different team without him, and it looks like it's working out. They're into the quarters.
They're playing more as a team.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. They seem like they're more a collective. They actually play for each other, and they're not playing for just the one guy up at the top. But, I just wonder what if Ibra would have brought something different or if they would have crashed out with him there.
That's a good question.
Right?
I think they're better off without him right now. I think that Ibra's at an age where, his mobility is definitely under some question in terms of how fast he moves and how fast he gets himself into the right positions. Don't get me wrong, he hasn't lost his shot or his heading ability by any means.
He's lighting up the MLS like Nelson lights up men's league. You know what I mean?
Oh, of course. Dude, you
Nelson
know
lights
it.
up men's league? He does?
You know it.
He's telling me he's
know
top
that.
goal scorer in his league.
Oh, is he?
You know it. No, not my league, my team.
My bad on his
Oh,
team.
his team.
And I'm defense.
So you're last in the league, but you're top of the team.
Nah, of course not.
But getting back on topic, as I predicted, and Rob said, it was a bit of a stinker, but Sweden really impressed me again, and now it's finally picking up steam, just how organized and how disciplined this team is when I've been saying it this whole time. It's proven to be very difficult to break them down, and all the goals that they've conceded only came in one game against Germany, and it came from that Kroos magic. Yeah. And then, so sure, the goal came down to a bit of luck, but if you don't buy a ticket, you're never going to win the lottery, right? So that old saying came true on their goal. It took a horrible deflection past Switzerland keeper Sommer. Sweden is like an old friend from high school. Like, that's nice seeing, and you hope they're doing well.
I didn't know where you were taking this for a second.
I was very confused as to where he was going with this.
They're like seeing an old friend, like you hope they're doing well, but like
old friend,
you don't want to spend 90 minutes
watching them.
Yeah. So it's like
I think teams.
I like their story, but
I still think teams and pundits should give them a little bit more respect.
No, like I said, I give
They're
them
in
all
the
the
quarters.
respect in the world. They play very organized and disciplined football.
They made it further than Portugal, Argentina, Spain, Italy. You want me to keep going? Holland,
You
Germany.
don't have to say Italy.
Yeah, I think we need to
end
leave
it
this
right
out of the
there.
conversation. I've already said
They're
it
in the
once
quarters.
and my heart went down into my stomach. But I mean, they're now taking on England.
Let's talk about that.
We defeated Colombia. England finally win a penalty shootout. Oh my Lord! Put your hands together.
It's a world ending.
That just happened, and I mean, all credit to Jordan Pickford. I mean, he's a good goalie. He made an incredible save against Uribe in the 90th minute, and that for me right there was a turning point to say, you know what, this guy's better than Joe Hart. And I'll firmly say that now. And I know we haven't seen too much of him. He plays in Everton, but he's a good goalie. And Thibaut Courtois criticized him for his height, but he can jump. He's an aerial threat. Now,
athletic ability.
Yeah. Another aerial threat is 23-year-old Yerry Mina, who scores his third goal of the tournament as a defender for Colombia that tied the game. And in the all-time history books, if I'm correct, and I had to do a lot of research on this, and hopefully it is correct.
Stayed up late nights.
The all-time leading goal scorer as a defender in the World Cup is Franz Beckenbauer with 5 goals. Mina has 3 in just one tournament. So if you tie Beckenbauer with 5 in the next World Cup, and let alone if you surpass that, you are the highest scoring defender in a World Cup that the competition has ever seen. And that's something that's so interesting because he's just a threat all the time, and he defends very well. And look, the game was fairly even. There were lapses of England dominating, lapses of Colombia dominating. Both of the teams did the job. I don't know if I want to say well, because they did struggle at times for both of them. But, I mean, Gareth Southgate, some of the substitutions were a little bit questionable. I mean, you should have brought on Marcus Rashford so much earlier in the match. That would have changed the dynamic of the attack. It would have pressed. Take off Raheem Sterling. He was poor. He lost the ball all the time.
I don't know why he's playing anymore.
Dispossessed all the time.
It's probably that loyalty that we keep talking, right? Coaches have loyalty to the players. This match was a little lackluster for me. I feel like it took so long to get going. They were both scared. And then that penalty could have been a foul first on Kane.
I think it was a penalty. It was the right call.
Yeah.
It was a penalty, but if you look at it, he's the one who committed a foul first, and then... But in the end, it got called.
It's the fact that
he got all on top of it. Yeah, of course, no.
That made it very clear and obvious to the ref.
Yeah. For me, it looked like he fouled... Who was it? Do you remember who it was? Barrios?
Barrios, I think.
I think it was Barrios. It looked like he fouled Barrios first.
Don't quote me on that. Don't at me.
But then, you know what? The way that he ended up going on top of Kane, that's obviously a penalty, but...
Oh, we're thinking about Barrios on top of Kane?
Yeah.
No, that was Carlos Sanchez.
It was Sanchez. Yes,
right?
it was.
We were talking about it.
It looked like Kane fouled Sanchez at first, but then after Sanchez did what he did, and that's a penalty, and that's what the ref saw.
All Sanchez has done this tournament is cause Colombia headaches.
Yes.
Concede penalties.
Yeah,
get them in trouble.
He really penalized his own team and shot himself in the foot a lot of times for Colombia. Now, England, this is their first penalty shootout win since Euro 96, and their record is 2-7 over the last 9 shootouts.
Yeah.
I mean...
I've
That's
seen
diabolical, if you ask me. I mean, yes, you lose. They've lost against Germany before, which is the best team on penalties ever.
Against Portugal
They lost Portugal. They
World
lost
Cup
against Portugal in the Euro 04 on penalties and 2006.
Yeah,
both.
And then Italy in 2012, was it?
Yep.
2012
in the Euro 2012.
So, yeah.
Now, also in this game, I want to address something that we spoke about Neymar and his antics. Colombia were so disrespectful to the referee. It was brutal to watch that after the penalty was called when Sanchez fouled Kane, for a good 5 minutes, they were postponing the penalty, continuously appealing to the referee. Falcao was getting into his face. Sanchez was getting into his face. Yuri Mina had to be held back. And the referee really lost control of the match. It turned into utter chaos that subsequently occurred once the penalty was awarded. And agree or disagree, should there be penalties for aggressively appealing calls on the field? Because in rugby, you have to respect the referee. If you don't, you're penalized. And that's one of the rules that's within the sport. Should there be rules strictly on respect to the referee within the sport?
Well, I think, you've seen players get booked for talking back to the ref or being disrespectful. But like you said, this ref didn't have any control. He lost it very early, and we didn't see much quality football. We saw a UFC match. And I think it was part of Colombia's tactics a little bit to be rough with England and get into their heads, and it worked for large parts of the match. Both teams really didn't create much, and especially Colombia barely attacked at all. And I think it was in the absence of James Rodriguez, like I spoke about. I gave the slight edge to England if James wasn't good to go, and he wasn't, and it was clear they were missing him. But again, the real hero is Jordan Pickford for me. Eric Dyer might get all the accolades and everything for making the game-winning shootout penalty, but it was that save right before the Mina header.
Ospina almost had that penalty too.
Yeah,
it just went
got a
right
big
under
paw
his glove. But I don't know. Like Falcao came out, I think it was yesterday, right after the match, saying that there was a language barrier because he was an American ref, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I guess maybe they were just trying to get their point out. Obviously, I don't think you should do that. You got to get booked.
There's getting your point across, and then there's
yelling at the ref,
in his face,
calling him names, whatever. But I don't know. The ref completely didn't have control of this game, and it showed by the players' actions. They were just doing whatever they wanted. They had that. Barrios did the headbutt, which could have been called the red, especially if you're going to use VAR.
No, I'll continue your point, sir.
But for me, Colombia didn't show what they have. They didn't have that free-flowing football with pace and attacking.
The South American style.
Yeah.
For me, that wasn't a red, though. A lot of people may disagree, but I don't think there was obviously it's a headbutt is a headbutt. It's gonna inflict pain. It's a little bit naughty. It's a little bit cheeky to get away with, but I don't think there was enough force in it to cause the reaction that Henderson did. Obviously, he's gonna want to sell it, as you spoke about, and obviously, at least he didn't do what Neymar did, because if Neymar got that, Lord knows he would have been carted off for 10 minutes, crying, complaining. So. At least Henderson, he just went down to get the attention of the referee, and he got booked for it. But I don't think it's a red personally.
Was that a Drake metaphor?
I didn't even catch.
Lord knows.
I just might be so.
You've been on
Drake
the Drake.
right now.
You've been on Drake a lot lately, eh? Oh.
But
I mean, he did come out with a good album.
Drake fanboy.
Stop that.
All right, now moving on for England. If you look back on their 1966 championship team, really quick, the base of the team was from West Ham. They had Bobby Moore, one of the best defenders of his time, Jeff Hurst, a good goal scorer, and midfielder Martin Peters, who was really young. This team is all Tottenham Hotspur. Harry Kane, Dele Alli, Danny Rose, Kieran Trippier, Eric Dyer. So when we talk about the chemistry going from club to international, this England team is bonding a lot easier. And, of course, Kyle Walker previously played there before. Not anymore, but he still knows them. Mm-hmm. This is good for the chemistry. Now, on the flip side of that, on the flip side of the history book, Sweden have an impressive record against England. 5 wins, 8 draws, 2 losses.
Yeah, I was looking at that yesterday. Very impressive.
So who wins? Now let's get into the predictions, and then we'll wrap it up with a transfer talk for all the games. So let's go with this one. Sweden and England, who wins?
It hurts me, but I'm going to have to go with the 3 lines to make the semis. I say that, but I would not be surprised to see Sweden cause another upset. They have proved to a lot of people that they were wrong, counting them out. But I think England will find them very difficult to break down, as many teams have. But I do think Kane is the difference maker, and he has the skill to score from anywhere and just create problems for any defense.
Yeah, like you said, Harry Kane. I'm taking England with this one as well. Kane has 6 goals in the tournament.
Ooh, I'm the lone wolf. I'm taking Sweden.
This, eh?
I'm taking Sweden. I just think that they're the way they've been playing as a unit has been impressive, and I haven't been giving them much respect throughout this tournament, and I'm kind of I'm kind of done with hearing it's coming home, because I don't think it's coming home.
All my friends in England are saying that right now.
Sorry guys, man, but I want to see Sweden take this.
Okay, so now Croatia against Russia. Devin, you mentioned before that you're on Croatia side with this. I'm for it as well. I think that Russia will be exposed a little bit more. I think that they might feel that they don't have to sit back as they did with Spain, and they can press and attack, and that might eat them alive, so to speak. I mean, I think I'll take Croatia's midfield. We keep talking about it every episode. I mean, Brozovic, Kovacic, Rakitic, Modric, that's just stacked, in my opinion, and they'll dominate the possession for surely they would. Now, if they dominate the game, I don't know if they're going to win. I mean, story of this World Cup, you dominate, you lose. But if they play more of an even game, I think Croatia will come out with it in the end.
I'm with you, boys. I think Croatia's got it. That midfield's just too powerful. And then with Rebic doing what he's doing, I just think they're gonna have their day with Russia.
Yeah, like Rob said, I'm going Croatia. Even though Russia have been really strong in this tournament and taking out Spain, they do deserve some credit. But I think Croatia offers something different that Spain didn't, and that might be destiny. They have been so strong in this tournament. They look really destined to win this tournament.
Win it all, yeah.
This is also their peak.
Yeah, there's this feeling about them, this underdog feeling that they might win it all this year, or an underdog, as Nelson has told me time and time again, that an underdog will win. But yeah, they might fit that bill of the underdog team to win it and to finally get a star on their kit.
All right, now tomorrow's games: Uruguay, France,
big matches
in the morning.
I wish this was on the weekend, man.
I wish. But we got Uruguay, France. That's the first one. Who takes it?
I stay true to Uruguay this whole tournament, and I'm not changing it now. I think Uruguay, this team is strong enough to win the tournament. They started off very defensively strong and have continued that, and now they're finding goals. And inspiration from their top players as well, with Suarez and Cavani both playing up to their peak. Maybe not peak with Suarez yet. He's not finding the net, but definitely with Cavani. And I think the experience of the Uruguay backline will be too much for the young guns of France.
Ooh, because I'm going with France because of their young guns. Because I think if Mbappe keeps doing what he did against Argentina, then Uruguay is no way going to handle him. It's just like I said, for if Portugal had Gelson Martinez in the lineup, that Uruguay defense wouldn't be able to handle him. And I think Mbappe is just going to run at them all game, and it's going to tire them down. And France has a lot of threats, and they're just going to take it, in my opinion. So I got France.
See, I think that Uruguay's defense can actually handle Mbappe. I think that Jose
Jimenez been well as well,
and Diego Godin and Martin Cáceres, they can take him. I think that Uruguay's defense is good. And I want to credit Uruguay's midfield because they don't get the recognition that they deserve. Rodrigo Bentancur, Lucas Torreira, Matias Vecino all played really well against Portugal. And for a young midfield that's, below the age of 25, 26, they're good. They get the job done in terms of what needs to be done. And they are very aggressive. They are not a team that will back down from a challenge. They're very aggressive. And all credit to their coach, Oscar Tabarez, who's probably in his last World Cup. He's done an excellent job with these players for years, going even back to the 2010 World Cup, when he had a young Cavani and a young Suarez, nurtured by an old name that you guys would probably remember, Diego Forlan. I would take Uruguay in this tie. I'm sticking with them as well. They're my dark horse to win it all in this tournament. I got them for this game. Now the last one, Brazil, Belgium. I mentioned before I'm taking Belgium. I think that momentum is going to carry over for this club. I think that their defense does need to get it together, and I mean it can be pretty scary. If Belgium's defense looks shaky within the first 15 minutes, 20 minutes, I think Brazil will have them. If they don't, Belgium for me can win this game. Even just the strength of their attackers. I mean, Lukaku's physical. Lots to deal with Thiago Silva and Miranda. Over on the left side, I mean, Eden Hazard is just a mouthful to handle, and I think that Wagner is going to have a bit of a tough time against him. And Kevin De Bruyne circulating everything to the midfield.
I'm taking Brazil. I just think that their attack is just too much for Belgium to handle, especially when they conceded 2 goals against Japan. And we gave credit to Japan, but that shouldn't have happened, right?
It really shouldn't.
Right? So I just think Brazil has too much flair and attacking power, and you know what? Belgium's going to keep disappointing like they have been, in my opinion. So I got Brazil.
Yeah, well, here's my problem with Belgium. For me, they have not impressed me at all. They haven't performed against good teams in this tournament. They played 2 weak group games and then a B-side in England. And then they come against Japan, concede 2 goals, and it really looked like Japan was going to win, So the only way they got back into this match was because of their height, and Brazil offered that similar height. So take that away, and what do they have? Hazard, who hasn't been living up to his potential. De Bruyne, what has he done for me? Nothing too much. And Lukaku, for me, looks like a donkey all the time. So
Lukaku's come to play in this tournament.
Give me Brazil. Lukaku has scored against the 2 weak teams in their group, and that is it. He played horrible against Japan. He did not offer them anything. He was created. There were so many chances created for him, and he missed them all.
He knows he's going to have to finish in this game.
Yeah. So give me Brazil. I think they're much better defensively than Belgium, and unlike Japan, they will be able to defend the high balls into the box. So it's gonna come up to Hazard and De Bruyne to carve the Brazil back line, and I don't think they can. I don't think they will. Trying to put his acting aside, Neymar is in his top form at the right time, and that needs to continue. Brazil is playing the quarterfinal for the 7th successive World Cup tournament, and they've only gone out twice at this stage in that run. So give me Brazil.
Okay. Now, just quickly wrapping up the Ronaldo stuff, just the rest of it before we end the show. Just a couple minutes.
He's still on a high.
Of course he is. Of course I am. I'm gonna be on a high for the next 2 months until the season.
You know what? I
starts,
love
and if
it.
see
You
him in
know,
the
I
jersey.
love it when an Italians are gonna get all excited for Ronaldo. Some Portuguese.
I think he's been checking his phone this entire podcast
I
to
think
see if
so.
there's any more updates.
Oh, I have looked at my phone
If it's
because an
been
update came
official.
up and my heart stopped.
It's so nice. I
but you
love
know what?
seeing Italians celebrate
He's
Ronaldo.
Ronaldo's agreed to the terms, 30 million euros a year, which in Canadian dollars is 46 million, roughly. A little bit more than
It's
that.
pocket change for him, right?
And I mean, on the Around Turin Facebook page and Instagram page I saw today, the CEO of Juventus, Giuseppe Marotta, is going to fly to Madrid either today or tomorrow morning to finalize it. They have to finalize the actual deal in terms of what they're going to offer Madrid, which is roughly around 100 million euros for argument's sake. It's going to be something like that. So for you guys looking at this transfer, expect that to be the funds that are going to be allocated into Real Madrid's bank account. And apparently Saturday is going to be the unveiling of Ronaldo. That's the rumors. That's what's apparently supposed to happen, and I pray to God it comes true. And, enough with this
He's
anymore.
just praying right now.
All right. So we're going to wrap up the show now. Thank you for tuning in to 12 Yards Out. Please follow the Instagram page called 12 Yards Out as well as the Facebook page. And go on YouTube. We are posting episodes on YouTube, and we are going to continue posting episodes on SoundCloud due to funds that have to be posted onto SoundCloud, and we have to pay SoundCloud for episodes, which we're all poor.
We're gonna start selling Girl Guide cookies pretty soon.
Yeah, definitely. On the side of Humber College Lakeshore
Calendars.
Fireman calendars.
Anybody want calendars?
Yeah, definitely. We're gonna have
I
to sell a
don't
bunch of
think
those to
anyone
fund
needs
the
to see that.
SoundCloud account.
Not even the wife wants to see that.
No,
The
I
Milan,
don't know if anyone does.
Wear Milan, Porto, and Juve jerseys.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have to wear an episode for an episode when we get the cameras involved with our technical producer Matthew Stevens. I think we'll all wear our soccer jerseys for an episode and really showcase what we all know and love. Thank you for listening to 12 Yards Out. This is the 4th episode. I'm Rob Bellardi with Devin Imrie and Nelson Santo, and our technical producer Matthew Stevens helps us out. As always, thanks for tuning in, guys, and enjoy the quarterfinals.